Hey friends, welcome to Living Faith Midweek Devotions. We're in the middle of our Promised Land series, and we're in week 3. We've talked about how Jesus promised that we will be there in heaven, and then how also He'll be with us always. And now this week, we turn to the promise where He says, I promise I'll give you what you need. We're going to look at 2 Corinthians chapter 4 a little bit, and it's so cool, the words that he gives us today. So I'm going to start with a question for you. Have you ever had one of those moments where the most honest thing you could say is just, I can't. I can't keep going. I can't carry this. I can't be who I'm supposed to be. We don't always say it out loud, but we feel it. And that's exactly where God meets us with a promise. I will give you what you need. There's a picture that helps make sense of this. A silversmith heats silver to extreme temperatures. It melts, impurities rise, and he carefully removes all the impurities. But he's not finished until one thing happens, until he can see his own reflection in the silver. In a similar way, God allows pressure, heat, and weakness in our lives, not to destroy us, but to shape us, refine us, and reflect Christ through us. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, Paul says, we have this treasure in jars of clay. That's us. Not strong, not unbreakable, just clay. Fragile, ordinary, cracked, but inside, a treasure. The gospel of Jesus Christ. And here's the reason. So that this all-surpassing power is from God, not from us. God doesn't choose you because you're strong. He uses you because you're not. Because when you're weak, it's obvious where the power comes from. Paul goes on to describe real life. Pressed, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Struck down, but not destroyed. That means God never promised a life without pressure, but He does promise a life that won't be destroyed by it. This week is about right now, getting through the moment. Because in suffering, we are always preaching something to ourselves. And too often, we preach lies. The lies like God helps those who help themselves, or if I were stronger, I'd be okay. Or maybe even the thought, God must be punishing me. Or a good life means no struggle. But the truth is, God tells a different story. He says, my grace is sufficient for you. Paul experienced this personally. He had something painful. He had a thorn in the flesh, he called it. He begged God to take it away, but God didn't remove it. Instead, you know what he said? My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. God didn't give Paul what he wanted. He gave him what he needed. And that's a promise for you too. Not always escape, not always ease, but always grace that sustains you, power that strengthens you, presence that never leaves you. So instead of being self-reliant, be grace sufficient. Instead of trying to hold it all together, be Christ reliant. Because self-reliance eventually leads to despair, but dependence on Christ, that's where real strength is found. And don't miss this. Jesus himself stepped into ultimate weakness. In the garden, he prayed in agony. On the cross, he was crushed. He was abandoned. He was broken. Why? So that you never would be. He took your weakness your sin, your death, and in exchange, he gives you his strength, his life, his grace. So when you find yourself saying, I can't, dear friend, that's not the end of the story, but that's the beginning of dependence. And God says, I know you can't. That's why I'll give you what you need. You may be a jar of clay, but you carry the treasure of heaven. And his grace is more than enough. God be with you, dear clay vessel, as Jesus shapes you as your potter to carry the greatest treasure of all, himself and the promise of heaven. God be with you, dear.